In this video, we'll talk about web design roles in the workplace. So the first role that we'll talk about is UI designer. UI designer is responsible for creating UI components, and those components could be drop-down menus, input fields, form elements, a variety of different icons. They could be called in for creating app environments. So user interface design is kind of all over the place in terms of what they do for developing smaller elements of a website design or an app design, very, very small elements. UX design is user experience design. So this is very different from website design in that they're not really focused on developing or building the apps or the websites. They're more focused on what's going to go into those websites or apps. So they'll work on building a persona, and a persona is a profile of individuals that they're targeting and basically like their target audience. So who they're targeting would be their consumers or the people that have visited the site in the past or maybe have used an app in the past that's similar to the one that they're developing now. So they'll build up those profiles, and those profiles could be very, very local or centralized, or they could be very, very global and broad. So it depends. And they'll do a lot of user research to figure out what users need on the site or the app. And then they'll conduct interviews with prospective users, sitting them down in front of a prototype and going through an experience with them, taking notes and bringing those notes back to the developers and telling them what's needed for the design, what's needed to update, and things like that. So UX is an exploding design area. It's something that's caught on in the past, I'd say, 5 years. And it's a very interesting position, something that you should definitely take a look at. Now, web designer, visual designer, there could be two classifications here, depending on what you're looking for in your career. But web designer is actually the person that's not doing the coding. Usually they're not doing coding at all. If they do coding, then that's a bonus, but usually they don't. So they're the ones that are going to build wireframes. They're going to take what the UX designer has researched. They're going to put that into an actual concrete wireframe. And a wireframe is a basic sketch or drawing, or it's an incomplete rough about what the website is going to have, how it's going to behave, how it's going to look. And then they'll eventually work those wireframes into prototypes, which is a working, website or a working app, but it's not the final. It's not fully developed. It's just it's a simulation of what that app or the website would be. So they'll design websites and apps. They'll create brand guidelines around all of the things that they're working on. So those would include color, that would include typography, that include imagery, they'll include iconography, anything that's associated with the web, the visual designer or the web designer will have in their wheelhouse. The web developer will take all the stuff that the UX designer is working on, the web designer is working on, and they'll actually turn it into an actual working website or a working app. So they'll actually code, and they code with JavaScript, they code with HTML, and they code with CSS. And they can do that in a variety of different ways with frameworks, or they can do it by hand, or they can use a CMS, a content management system like WordPress or Joomla or Drupal. There's a bunch of different CMSs out there. And they can implement those designs into those CMS systems and basically work on the code in the back end. So they'll know a lot about site architecture. They'll create the site architecture ahead of time, usually, to enable the sites that they're building or the apps that they're building. And they'll also probably be involved in doing app development with Swift or with whatever toolkits that are available for Android. So they might be involved in that process. Or that might be just a siloed situation where a person is just dedicated to developing mobile apps or web apps. Then you might have a content strategist who provides the overall content strategy for the site. So they'll have a broad vision of the type of content that's going to go on the site. This person is critical to the entire success of the operation. They know exactly what their target audience, those personas that the UX designer created. They're trying to create content that'll be geared towards those particular persons. And they're looking for opportunities to monetize that content so that people will pay for things, buy products, and buy reports or download things. So they're looking for opportunities to do that. And they'll also be involved in providing a brand voice for the site. So a brand voice is just the way that the site communicates to people in a specific way. Like we may not use certain language, or we might not use a lot of different phrases in a specific way, but it's geared towards that particular audience. And then a marketing strategist is probably going to be involved with search engine optimization and analyzing traffic on the site and providing reports to all the stakeholders that are involved. And that traffic analysis is really important and key in determining the effectiveness of the site or the effectiveness of the app. How much traffic is being driven, where geographically where people are coming to the site, how the site is engaging the users, whether or not it's engaging the users, and which articles and which content features are being hit the most. So they'll provide that information. They might also analyze and offer perspectives for social campaigns and getting the word out for that as well. So this is an overview of all the different design roles. There are probably some more in here like program managers or project managers and things like that. Upper level architects. There's probably like a technical person that's ahead of this entire effort. But those are the general roles that you'll probably be in contact with once you get into the design world.